Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of y'all's creation. It's Friday, TGIF, the 24th of July, 2026. Keep breathing, folks. Keep smiling. Be like two fried eggs and keep your sunny side up. All right, welcome to the Friday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist. And, we got plenty of reason to exclaim, what the frig is going on here? And if that offends you, well, then just think of it as with the facts. Anyway, welcome to the Friday edition of the WTF Reports. And there's so many follow-ups. I don't know if I can even get to them all. But right off the bat, I want to remind you that this broadcast is brought to you in part by the Wave Watch. Yeah, the Wave Watch. It's a Rife machine you wear on your wrist. We know Tesla said frequency is everything, and Royal Raymond Rife knew exactly what that meant. And that's why he started experimenting, and he discovered that frequencies affect your cells. Yeah, they help your cells thrive. Makes you healthy. And it also, those frequencies can be used to attack the bad bugaboos and pathogens, bacteria, viruses, etc., etc. So if you'd like to know more about the Wave Watch, I encourage you to find out about this because this technology is not going away. It's just getting bigger and bigger. People are finding out what Rife technology can do. So go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and the pop-up there will take you to an area where you can read all about the Wave Watch and find out how and why this technology can really help you out. I'm not saying it's ever going to cure or treat anything, but it can definitely help. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing mine right now. Let me see if you can hear it or not. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's like, anyway, so I've been trying different programs, and I'm working on my eyes again. I used it when I first got it, I started using it for my eyes, and after about 2 or 3 weeks, I found that I could read the newspaper without my reading glasses. So, whoa, this thing works. So I started using it for other things, for adrenal health and for parasites, et cetera, And so I've been using this off and on, and then I noticed that if I don't keep it on, using it for my eyes started to fall back a bit. So I'm running with the eye program again. But anyway, that said, okay, where do I start? There's so much division in this country. And I want to start off by a quote. When I was a kid, there were assigned books that we had to read. And I'm sure a lot of these books have been banned. As a matter of fact, one of them was called Animal Farm by George Orwell. And there was a quote in there. All pigs are created equal, except some pigs are more equal than others. And isn't that ridiculous? Well, let's compare that to our Constitution. Our Constitution says we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Well, using George Orwell's Animal Farm philosophy, I suppose we have to believe that some men are more equal than others, especially when you come to the phrase, God's chosen people. So let's let that sink in. Have we been brainwashed? Have we been conditioned? Have we been bamboozled and flim-flammed to think that there's a certain group of people that should sit higher above everybody else? Well, there are powers that be that want you to believe that. And if you believe that, then you probably believe that all pigs are created equal, except some pigs are more equal than others. And I wanted to basically point that out, and I'm not trying to, berate or insult a particular group of people, because we've all been lied to, every single one of us. I don't care where you come from, we've all been bamboozled. Everything we've been told, we're finding out is a lie. And the powers that be know it. And as a result, what they're doing is they're using a technique, the old divide and conquer. We base our opinions on information that's provided. And if that information is misinformation, disinformation, or a lie, that means that the opinions we form are extensions of those lies. So with that, again, divide and conquer, all right? The powers that be want us fighting against each other. Because as long as we are going, battling the right versus the left, left versus right, that is a horizontal conflict, and nothing is going to change. They want a horizontal conflict. They want a civil war, conservatives versus liberals, or Christians versus Muslims, or Jews, and blacks versus whites, and Hispanics, and Orientals, and, create all the division. And that suits their purpose. But instead of going into a horizontal conflict, I'm suggesting we need to be into a vertical conflict, from bottom to top. We have to go after the people who are pulling the strings. And I want to illustrate that by, and I've done this before, for all of you people who are conservative, you red conservative people, excuse me, you guys go over on this side of the room. All you blue liberal people, you go on that side of the room. All right? Now I'm going to ask you all a question. All right? Okay, you guys over here, do you believe in war? No! Okay, well, how about you guys over there? No! Okay, good. Do you believe in the military-industrial complex? No! Do you? No! Good. Do you believe in big pharma? No! Do you? No. Well, guess what? So far, maybe you don't believe in it, but they do. Yeah, hey, do you guys believe in the Fed, the Federal Reserve? No! Do you? No! Good. Well, they do. Do you believe in big oil? No! Do you? No! Good. Well, they do. Do you believe in the drug cartels? You like the drug cartel? No! Do you? No! Well, they do. They make a lot of money from it. How about human trafficking? Do you like human trafficking? No! Do you? No! Good. Man, we're on a roll here. How about ethnic cleansing? Do you like ethnic cleansing? No! Do you? No! Good. How about genocide? Do you guys like genocide? No! Do you? No! Well, guess what? They do. How about mass surveillance? Do you like mass surveillance? No! Do you? No! Good. Holy mackerel. How about the mainstream news, the mainstream networks? Do you believe in them? No! Do you? No! Oh, man, look at all the things we have in common. Oh, my word. How about Big Chem? Do you believe in Monsanto? No! Do you? No! I could go on and on and on. The powers that be do not want you to understand that my enemy, the enemy of my enemy, is my friend. The powers that be they couldn't stand it if all of a sudden the blacks and the whites and the Hispanics and the Orientals and the Jews and the Christians and the Muslims and everybody all of a sudden joined hands and said, look we've had enough. We're sick of this. I don't want any more war. And all of this stuff that's been going on in the Middle East for decades and decades and decades, all the destruction, the trillions and trillions of dollars that have been spent killing people, blowing stuff up, destroying priceless artifacts in history, and then spending even more money to go in and build it up again, and then to blow it up again. And then to build it. It's a never-ending cycle, and it doesn't stop. Why? Because we're all fighting against each other instead of going after the powers that be who are pulling the strings. And I'm not necessarily talking about your elected officials. Yeah, they're guilty as sin. But why are they guilty as sin? Is it possible because, maybe they've been paid off? Well, yeah. I mean, there's those 3 magic words I've talked about, and you can even get a T-shirt if you go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and pick up a T-shirt with the 3 magic words.
Bribery, coercion, blackmail.
Yeah. So we can go after the people who've been bribed, your elected officials. I mean, that's what the whole talk about AIPAC is all about. By the way, I did contact my Senator Tim Sheehy again this morning. I was pretty ticked off, but I made it clear in no uncertain terms that I do not support any merge whatsoever with Israel. And by the way, they must be getting a snot load of calls because it went right to a recording. At least, when you used to call, somebody would answer. But now they must be getting a lot of calls, and they have to keep on getting calls. Call your senator, because the House has already made their decision. They've already done their vote. So we've got to contact your senators and say, this is an act of definitive treason. And we all know what the penalty for treason is. And make it clear in no uncertain terms that you're not stupid and you know exactly what's going on. Anyway, getting back to this issue about who's pulling the strings, our elected officials are having their buttons pushed and their strings pulled. And it's by one of those three things, bribery or lobbying. And then there's coercion. That's the technique where they say, well, gosh, you better support this bill because it would be a shame if something happened to one of your family members. Yeah, that's one of the ways that they play it, and I know that for a fact. Back in the 90s, when I was working with Joyce in the American Gulf War Veterans Association, we were in Denver, Colorado, talking to one of the senators, and Joyce flat out asked him, she says, "What? You know about what's in these Senate reports. You know why our troops are so sick. They've been exposed to chemicals and biologicals. Why aren't you doing something to help them?" And his response was, "Well, I have a 15-year-old daughter, and I want to make sure she has a sweet 16th birthday." So yeah, bribery, coercion, and what's the third word is blackmail. Yeah, we all know about blackmail. Some people call it leverage. Yeah, it's leverage, you darn betcha. So you have to ask the question, how many of our elected officials have been blackmailed? And I'm not necessarily talking about some involvement with Rape Island with Jeffrey Epstein, because that's not the only place this stuff happens. It happens in hotel rooms. It happens in resorts and spas all over the country, all over the world. And the United States isn't the only victim of that, our elected officials. There are elected officials and appointed officials all over the world that have basically been blackmailed because of some of their, shall we say, unsavory activities. But the bottom line here, folks, is that if we want to stop this, we have to look at who's pulling the strings. Who is in charge? I mean, I just went through a whole list here, okay? Who's in charge of deciding we go to war, okay? Who is it that pulls the strings or blackmails or bribes or, coerces our elected officials into making decisions to go to war? Who's behind that? Who's behind the military-industrial complex and the decisions that are being made there? Who's behind Big Pharma? We're talking, Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, all those companies that were manufacturing the hokey-pokey thingy-dingy. We all know who was behind that. And you might also want to ask yourself the question, what do they all have in common? Federal Reserve? Yeah, we know who's behind that. And what do they have in common? Big oil, big agri, the drug cartels, the human trafficking, okay? So the surveillance state, mainstream networks, Hollywood. Who's behind that? Who are the movers and the shakers and the policymakers behind all of these entities? And what do they all have in common? You start to figure this out. I'm just asking questions, folks. I'm not making accusations, but it's not hard to figure out. Just go up the rabbit trail. Go up the food chain or whatever. Follow the flow chart, whatever. Connect the dots. Put the puzzle pieces together. So we have to start going after those who are pulling the strings. And the powers that be don't want you to do that. No, don't look up. Look to the right, look to the left. Those are your enemies. Yeah, right. Anyway, that's my little rant for the day. I got something else I was going to say. I was talking to a friend of mine, a very dear friend of mine, who happens to be Jewish. And we were talking about how we've all been, misled. We've been lied to. We've been misdirected. We've been, forced to basically question each other's integrity. And and I've been doing some research. Again, shame on me. I've told your regular listeners, years and years ago, back in the late 90s and early 2000s when I was doing the Power Hour, I had, a lot of different versions of the Bible. Of course, I had the King James Version, had the NIV, had the Jerusalem Bible, the Tyndale Bible. I had the Hebrew translations, the Greek translations. I had the Torah. I had the Quran. I had the I Ching. And I used to look to all of this stuff. and cross-reference it. And I would notice how different changes where the changes were made. But what I found really interesting, and I've gone back and revisited some of this information. I talked about this a couple months ago, about the forbidden chapter in the Torah is Isaiah chapter 53. And so I went to the Torah. You can read it online and just put in Torah. Look it up. And then when you pull up Isaiah chapter 53 and compare it to the King James Version, they are identical. Yeah, absolutely identical. You know what else is identical? And I just looked this up to confirm it. You know, we all hear about the Star of David, which is, the six-pointed star that is prominently displayed, represents a particular ethnic group, and more importantly, it represents a particular state in the Middle East. Well, the Star of David, anybody should be challenged to find any reference whatsoever to a star being related to King David. It doesn't exist. There is no Star of David. However, in the book of Amos, and I've got the Torah pulled right up here on my computer, and I got my KJV in my hand here, and they are identical. What do they say? What is this issue about the Star of David? Why have we been told over and over it's the Star of David, it's the Star of David, when there is no Star of David? But there is a star. In chapter 5 of Amos, verse 26, it says, "But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Moloch and Chiun in your images, the star of your God which ye made to yourselves." I probably should have read the verse before that, and I'll do that. In 25 it says, "Ye have offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Israel." Yeah, it had to do with human sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness for 40 years. Who was doing it? It says right here, O house of Israel. And the star of your Moloch and Chiam, your images, the star of your God. So, what does this mean? What it means is that we've all been snookered. I don't care if you're Jewish, I don't care if you're Christian. If we think that this six-pointed star represents some group of people who like to call themselves God's chosen people, and I've already addressed that as far as the United States Constitution is concerned, we have to start thinking outside of the cage, folks. Anyway, that's my little rant. And, all right, I'm going to change gears a little bit here. I mean, of course, everybody is talking about this war with Iran, the war with Iran. And we're not getting a whole lot of footage. They keep telling us that we're beating the heck out of them. We're bombing this and bombing that and everything. Well, then how come we're not seeing a whole lot of footage? I mean, I remember during the first Gulf War, my gosh, every single night, the nightly news had briefings from Norman Schwarzkopf and Colin Powell, and here's some, videos of Scud missiles, et cetera, and here's more footage from Iraq. Remember all that? Well, we're not seeing doodly squat from this war, and you have to ask the question, why? We have to rely upon the journalists to tell us the truth. Yeah. NBC, news you can trust. Yeah, right. Okay, you regular listeners know what I feel about the mainstream networks. As a matter of fact, the music that I use to begin and end the show is a song that I wrote about the mainstream fake news 30 years ago. But I want to share with you a writing, and this comes from an Israeli journalist by the name of Alan Mizrahi. Now, I can only share with you what he said. I can't hang my hat on it. But I read this thing and I said, this seems to make sense. Now, keep in mind that Iran has been threatened for decades and decades and decades. I mean, going all the way back to the 90s, Bibi Netanyahu has been saying, Iran is only a month away from a nuclear war. Iran is only 2 weeks away from a nuclear bomb. I mean, we've been hearing that for 30 years, And over and over again. So do you think that Iran is just going to sit there and wait until they get attacked? I don't think so. And keep in mind that Iran was formerly Persia, and Persia is the birthplace of civilization. And some of the most scientific minds, mathematical minds, have come from Persia. These people are not stupid people. So after being threatened for decades and decades, do you think that they would just sit on their hands, or do you think they might prepare themselves for a possible and imminent attack? Well, I don't think that, it's too hard to figure that out. They have been preparing for a long, long time to defend themselves. And we all know that the United States and many European countries have huge, intricate tunnel systems and bases underground. I mean, heck, I remember back in the 90s, one of the people that we knew in the military gave Joyce and me some maps of the underground tunnel systems that are connected coast to coast with many stops in between. Yes, underground maglev trains, high-speed rail systems connecting underground bases and cities. Yes, I don't care whether you believe it or not. I don't care. But they are real. So if the United States has been doing this and building these tunnels and rail systems, wouldn't you think that Iran would be doing the same thing and maybe have a couple thousand years of a head start doing so? Yeah. And that's why they're the overwhelming majority of all of their hardware and manufacturing facilities are underground. We can bomb until the cows, the cows come home and jump over the moon. We can bomb and bomb and bomb. It ain't going to do doodly squat to them because they're way underground. And they're manufacturing their missiles and drones by the tens of thousands. So anyway, I want to share with you a writing from an Israeli journalist. His name is Alan Mizrahi. And I read, it says here, "We are witnessing history. Iran is, to the surprise of everyone, screwing up U.S. bases so thoroughly and extensively and so decisively that the world isn't ready to see it. In 4 days, Iran has managed to expand its scope of military domination in the region. Iran has destroyed the most precious, most expensive military bases, assets, and equipment in the whole world. American bases in Bahrain and Kuwait and Qatar and Saudi Arabia are some of the biggest military installations in the entire world. These are assets that took trillions to build over the course of several decades. We're talking a major chunk of military expenditure over 30 years going up in smoke. We are seeing radars costing hundreds of millions of dollars and a piece being destroyed in an instant. We're seeing entire military bases being abandoned and burned, decimated and destroyed. And I'm telling you from my knowledge, the U.S. has never suffered such devastation in its entire history, except maybe Pearl Harbor, but that was only one attack. No enemy in a normal war has done to the U.S. military what the Iranians are doing to the U.S. military right now. This defies belief. The military situation is so bad that censorship blocks practically every piece of new information about this war. If you've noticed, we're being exposed to less and less every day. 35 years ago, during the first Iraq war, we were being shown endless footage from Iraq. The smart bombs and the cameras were a novelty back then, but every night we were being shown night footage. Now we are seeing almost no video. Understand this. This is supposedly the world's biggest military power, having the world's biggest air capabilities, and for 4 days when the U.S. is on the offensive, supposedly, and is supposed to be breaking through Iran defenses, we are seeing no signs of American domination over Iranian skies. Where is all the footage of our planes flying over Tehran, or any other part of Iran for that matter? American soldiers cannot even dream of setting foot in Iran. And understand how desperate this war is, that on the fourth day you've already been hearing the craziest suggestions and ideas from the Trump administration. They're suggesting to send military escorts for oil-carrying vessels coming in and out of the Persian Gulf. What are you even talking about? You want to send American ships into the range of thousands of Iranian missiles? No one can pass through the Strait of Hormuz right now. The Iranians have been preparing for this for decades. They're flaunting this idea of arming Kurdish militias to invade Iran. What the heck are you talking about? Have you seen a map of Iran? It seems like the Trump administration has never seen a map of Iran. Do you know how massive it is? What do you mean invade Iran? You think a 10,000-man militia can handle Iran? Or even 50,000? Or 100,000? Iran will swallow them. The U.S. and Israel have already lost this war. The U.S. and Israel can kill millions of civilians in their homes. They have huge bombs and can explode buildings, but they will not win this war. Iranians' military infrastructure and weaponry is so far underground all over Iran. There is no way for the Americans, and definitely not the Israelis, to reach any of it. They are screwed. There's another word there, but they have started something that they have no chance of bringing to an end. When this war is over, the U.S. will never come back to West Asia. There will be no American presence in the Middle East. I'm telling you this now with certainty. Signed, Alan Mizrahi. He's an Israeli journalist and a peace activist. And he posted that on Substack. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because you're just not being told the truth. And now, yeah, there's rumblings about a draft being employed. Oh, that's just great. Send your sons and daughters into a meat grinder. And yeah, and by the way, you got to pay for it too. This is insanity. Anyway, okay, I'm going to have it is Friday, so we can open up the phone lines. I have a couple of things I want to share with you, but if you've got something that you want to say, you're welcome to join me. 215-867-8255.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And as always, you can get more tank by going to our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page and you'll go down to an area where you can click on Get More Tank and read all about the specifications and details of how and why this fuel catalyst is so effective in your vehicle. Yes, right off the bat, when you start using Get More Tank, the first thing you'll notice is you have more power. You got more. There we go. So you have more power when you hit the accelerator, and then after a couple of tanks, your engine starts to adjust to its new efficiency. It cleans itself up, and that's when you start to see an increase in your mileage. Yeah, anywhere between 15 and 20%, depending upon your make, model, year of vehicle and your driving habits. So do the math. If you're getting 20% better mileage, that means that your fifth tank is free. Spend $20 for Get More Tank and get a free tank of gas. And plus make your engine more efficient and give it more power. This is a no-brainer, folks. You should be using Get More Tank in all of your vehicles. Yeah, your chainsaw, your riding mower, even if you got a diesel. It works in all of these vehicles. So it doesn't make sense not to use Get More Tank. Go to our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page and Get More Tank.
Hello.
Okay, let's see. It's 35 minutes past the hour, whatever hour you're sitting in. And before I take the call here, I just want to mention that, yes, I don't know who this guy, Ilan Mizrahi, is here. He says he's an Israeli journalist and he's a peace activist. And of course, it may be one-sided, and we can't confirm whether what he's saying is true. But then again, we can't confirm what our mainstream media is telling us is true either. So we're just going to have to use our brains and figure it out ourselves. Okay, caller, let me see that phone number. Oh, that's my buddy Mike. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, how you doing today?
I still don't agree with you.
That's okay.
I thought I'd make our argument public.
Yeah, no, we're not arguing. We are agreeing to disagree. Okay, you want to argue? Okay, let's get done.
Okay, I got my boxing gloves on.
All right, go ahead. What you got?
I don't believe that we're losing the war. I don't believe that they're destroying us. I believe that, yeah, they've probably done a little more damage than we've been told. Yeah, but I don't believe that, I mean, we're totally devastated, lost the war, and we're all, going to have a big problem. I also looked through some of the stuff that you had on X, and I'm seeing AI generated. I've been working with AI every day now for a long time, and I'm just seeing AI generated.
Yeah, there's
the other thing.
Yeah, there was an AI generated illustration to this article that I just read. Yeah, I realize it's an AI generated illustration, but
it can be AI can generate the text too.
Yeah, the AI could be generating what we're watching on the mainstream news as well. But
this may be all part of the propaganda game, is to get us questioning and not believing our government, because that would be a bad thing if you don't believe your government. But I don't believe government anyway. But anyway,
well, at least we're on the same page on that one. Yeah.
Here's another reason: is there are people on the ground with phones who are not controlled by the government.
Yeah.
And all of this stuff, even in Iran, there are working phones. Outside of Iran, there are working phones.
Yeah.
Israel has, why are we not seeing videos and pictures of American bases and stuff being blown up, as you say, in Kuwait and Qatar and all these, and Iraq and Saudi Arabia and all these other places? Why are no photos of destruction being leaked out of American bases? There's nothing.
Well, yeah, I remember right after this whole thing started in Israel, in Tel Aviv, orders were given for nobody to post any video footage from what was going on in Israel, and they would face jail sentences and heavy fines if they did. I think they said you'd spend 5 years in prison if you were caught sharing any type of video of the damage in Israel. So, I mean, there's that factor as well. So, like I said, it's really hard to know what's true and what's not true. But what common sense is telling me, and I've seen some of the satellite footage of some of these radar bases in Qatar, the before and after satellite footage, and these things were blown to pieces. So I have every reason to believe that there is an element of truth in some of what we're hearing. Maybe not 100%, but we're certainly not getting away from this conflict unscathed. And Iran has been making saber rattling, saying, hey, guess what? Israel's next. We're going to start pulling out the big guns. I don't know if they already have or not, because we're not getting any footage out of Israel. So I don't know what to believe. All I could do is report what I'm getting.
I just don't, I know that you can't trust the mainstream media.
Right.
Okay. And they're not going to report that we're losing, but they're controlled by the government, which, if you go back to World War II, World War I, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the government did not tell us the truth and reveal everything even then.
That's right.
Mainstream.
That's right.
Okay?
Liar.
And that's all part of the propaganda and the manipulation of the people, which has to be done during wartime.
Correct. Correct.
So,
I agree with you 100%, which is why I encourage people to think on their own, make your own assumptions and come to your own conclusions and use common sense. And like I said, my common sense tells me that the Iranians have been preparing for this type of a conflict for decades and decades and decades, and their history is the oldest on this planet. They're not stupid people. They know, psychology. They know sociology. They know military strategy. They know all this stuff. And like I was saying on the outset, we know that we have underground military bases and high-speed rails underneath the United States. We have to be stupid not to think that they don't have that, and they have had a real long head start on us by maybe a couple thousand years, So this is why I'm saying, it would be stupid for us not to at least consider the fact that they are very well prepared to take the hits and to deal back a few lethal blows as well. So,
which they're doing, but I don't think it's devastation to the extent that you say. Now, to support what you're saying, even though I don't believe we're actually being destroyed, to support what you're saying in the Book of Revelations, when we get to the extreme end times, the last 7 years, the 3.5. Armageddon, which is a location, it's a place. What happens is the United States and the West is not mentioned at all. The only thing it says is that we were taken off into slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not there. So
no, we're not.
That's what you're saying could support that we're destroyed by then.
Well, that's something else that's coming down.
We're not involved in the end times. Well, but then again, one of the things when I came to learning all of this stuff was Mystery of Babylon.
Okay.
You remember Mystery of Babylon?
Yeah, sure do.
And that's what we are. Okay?
Yeah.
So we have to be destroyed at some point. Do we get destroyed, or we're just not strong enough to be involved anymore? But I can't see that all of our weaponry is destroyed. I can't see that. Mm-hmm. Also, as you're saying, the Persians, they're not bred like us. They're a whole different genealogy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Our genealogy is totally different than a Persian genealogy. And they're almost a different phylum. I mean, they're human, but they didn't descend the same way we descended.
Mm-hmm.
So you know where I'm going with that.
Go ahead.
Are they actually still have Nephilim genes in them?
Okay. Well, that's
which
that's
would
something.
Give them the ability to outthink us and destroy us, because there's another factor involved there.
Well, that's a nice theory, but that's a nice theory, but it is your theory and your belief, and I'm not going to take that away or berate you for that. I'm not even going to disagree. But you're raising issues and questions here that we just don't have the answers to. But what I do know, and I'm sure you'll agree, is that humanity is rushing as quickly as it can towards self-destruction. We are blowing everything up. We're destroying our environment. We are just, polluting the water, destroying the oceans. We're, throwing crap in the skies. We've got stuff in our food. We're killing millions of people and, destroying, we're doing everything that we can to destroy this world. And it's got to stop. It's got to stop. So, and you know what? You brought up this whole thing about persecution. Yeah, well, there's a real push now. I believe there's a national council that's going to be put together in November to start pushing the Noahide laws, and which means that if you believe in Jesus Christ, you need to be put to death. Believe it or not. What
a way to go. What an honor.
Yeah, right. What a way to go.
What an honor. Because I definitely believe in Jesus Christ, the Holy Spirit. My background story. Mm-hmm. I have had miraculous things.
Yes, I do know.
But then again, you've always said that the aliens are not going to let us destroy ourselves.
Well, not atomically anyway. They don't want us to blow up the planet. That's what I believe. If they have the, I've heard reports that during the Cold War there were times when the button was pushed to launch the atomic missiles, and all of a sudden nothing worked. So, So I don't believe that if there are extraterrestrials or watchers or whatever you want to call them, if humanity is about to blow up the world and destroy all life, I would think that they would step in to stop it. Yeah. So, I can't say for sure.
Step in to stop it. But is there effort to, I know we're on a different track now, is there effort to preserve humanity, or is there effort to just preserve this organic orb floating around in the vastness of space?
Well, I don't think that they want to see the entire world be devoid of life. However, humanity seems to be doing everything that they can to destroy it. So if they were going to allow, some destruction, maybe they'll knock humanity down a few notches. As they say, you got to hit, rock bottom before you can pick yourself up again. So I don't know.
How many times have they let us get knocked down, or they knocked us down, destroyed civilization, and then civilization rebuilt itself, supposedly with their assistance, and the whole thing happened again.
Yeah.
We ended up destroying ourselves.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I've recently started to take another look. I mentioned at the beginning of the program at one point that I had a whole bunch of different scriptures, versions of the Bible. Yeah, we had the book of Jasher, the book of Enoch, and I've just been reacquainted with the Colburn Bible. And I want to revisit that, and that's very interesting as well. So because apparently, according to the Colburn Bible, it's not the first time humanity's been knocked down to nothing. So anyway, this is a long discussion. We could go on for hours about all this stuff, but
okay. But the end thing, the reason I called in is I do not agree with you that the United States is being totally destroyed, that our bases have been destroyed, that we have nothing left, that we're out of armament, and the Iranians are destroying us, and we're stuck in that position, which is just going to destroy. Now, also, though, the end result is Trump wants to get the United States out of the Middle East. We shouldn't be there, but right now we are the grand protectors against the atomic bomb, which is going to be used on us. So that's that. And then I'm going to ask, without Dave's permission, if anybody is out there, can anybody hear me? Call in and refute what I said.
Okay, and by the way,
call in right now, refute with Dave what I said. I don't think we're there. I don't think we're getting destroyed. I think that people have cell phones, that it would be leaked, and I think a lot of what we're seeing is AI for and against what I'm saying. So that's it, Dave. That's all I have.
Okay, well, I just want to add that it's not just this article that I was sharing. It's also some of the things that I've seen online, interviews with Colonel Douglas McGregor, Colonel Larry Wilkerson, several other military people have been basically saying, yeah, we're getting our asses kicked over there. And I'm not saying that it's total, absolute devastation and we're done, we're out of everything. I'm not saying that, but I will say that we're taking a very severe spanking over there. And the mainstream media is certainly not going to report that for reasons that you already brought up, like during the second Gulf War, Vietnam War. We know that they were lying to us about the numbers, so we have no reason to believe that they're going to tell us the truth right now either. So we don't know what the full truth is, but I promise you, we would have to be stupid not to think that we're not, we and our allies with our bases are not getting hit over there. So, and like I've seen it, plus I've seen the satellite footage of some of these satellite stations, and they're just totally gone, just totally obliterated. So we don't know what the 100% truth is.
You got to be careful with AI. I do AI all day. I have a good eye for knowing what is and what isn't AI.
True that. Okay, Mike, well, thank you for calling in, and if anybody else got some information on this topic, you're welcome to call in. I got to clear the phone lines to let that happen. So thanks for calling in, Mike. It's always good to, we can agree to disagree. We don't have to be, hammering each other, and we're going to argue. No, you, no, you, now you. No, it's not like that at all. So,
okay.
All right, you take it easy.
All right. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Interesting conversation there. Yeah, if you got in some information you want to throw it on the table, it's 215-867-8255. Okay, changing gears. Getting back to this issue about these flock cameras, there's a couple things I wanted to add to. Let me see if I can get to both of these. There's a guy who was at a city council meeting. I'm trying to see where this was. But anyway, he stepped up to the podium. You want to talk about turning the tables on these people? Listen to this. This happened, let me see, July 20th. And I'm trying to see, the print is so small. Maybe while he's talking, I'll be able to identify what city or town that he was speaking in. But he turned the tables on the public officials when it came to the flock cameras. This was brilliant. Listen to this.
You guys have been having a great summer. I know I have. I've spent the last several months talking to people all over Casa Grande, and one thing keeps coming up: safety. So today I'm excited to announce a new company called Shepherd Safety. Our mission is simple: keep government officials and their families safe. We're launching satellites to watch over Casa Grande day and night. Our AI will monitor where government officials go, where they stop, who they meet with, and when they return home. We've already started collecting and building profiles on your vehicles, spouses' vehicles, children's vehicles, and other visual characteristics. We'll combine that information with publicly available data: Bluetooth signals, advertising IDs, vehicle information, commercial data sources, so our authorized users can replay the movements of every government official and their immediate family. There's no difference than the current flock safety capture systems. Everything will be stored securely, and only authorized users will have access. Local businesses will be invited to join our network so government officials can continue being protected while shopping, eating, or traveling throughout the city. Some of you might think this sounds invasive, and you may worry about abuse, you may worry about unauthorized access, tracking innocent people. We understand those concerns. After all, those are the exact same concerns of all the citizens. 864 now? Something like that? But we've been told not to worry, because if you're doing nothing wrong, you got nothing to hide. It's okay. You have no expectation of privacy in public. So if we track all your movement and put it up online, it's okay. Only authorized users will have access. We made that clear. And we're only going to store the data for 30 days, which is the footage. So it's no different from Flock. It's no problem. Privacy doesn't stop being important because someone says the word safety, okay? We shouldn't accept this level of surveillance, our elected officials and their families, and we shouldn't accept it for ourselves. Now, this is satire. I would never do this to you. Could I? Probably. But I wouldn't. Because it's wrong. Just like what you guys are doing to us is wrong.
Right.
I'm innocent. I don't do anything wrong. You're tracking and uploading my information, my movements every day without my permission. And I don't appreciate it. And I'd like you to stop. I'd like you to do something about it. I'd like you to put it behind a warrant, just like my phone records. That's what I'm asking you guys to do. Thanks.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He said he was in Santa Rosa, so that's where that happened. So, so he just turned the tables on these guys, maybe made them think a little bit. And maybe this testimony, it's been posted on X, and I'm sharing it. I'd like to see if it gets onto some of the other social media platforms. But I think it's absolutely brilliant, and maybe it'll make the powers that be think twice before they go ahead with putting up more of the flock cameras. And by the way, I've mentioned this on in the past couple of shows. There's another company called Axon, Axon. And Axon is now in the process of replacing the flock cameras. Now, a lot of people have been screaming about, flock safety, and where's his name? Garrett, what's his last name? I can't remember his last name. The CEO of Flock Safety. But anyway, the point is that a lot of people have been speaking about the flock cameras, and they're taking them down, and there's vandalism, and I played a whole bunch of audio clips, and it's also in the last video that I produced. And by the way, if you haven't seen, the WTF reports, I'm now producing videos. Now, I'm not doing them every day because a lot of work goes into it, but I want to try to get a couple of them out each week. And the latest one is basically covering this issue about the flock cameras. Well, guess what? Axon is now going to be replacing a lot of these flock cameras, and Axon is like a flock camera on steroids. And if you follow the money trail, you're never going to guess who's behind it. You're never going to guess who bought $5 million worth of stock in Axon. And you'll never guess about what's happening with this pushback, this blowback against the flock cameras. This could well be a psyop. Yeah, this could be an effort being driven by those behind Axon so that Axon can replace Flock. You see how that could work? I mean, these people are brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. And getting back to what I was talking about in the early part of the show about those who are pulling the strings, keep in mind that the powers that be, there are some evil people that want to destroy this country and the entire West. And if you want to get biblical about it, we all know that there's always been the eternal battle between God and Satan or Lucifer. Lucifer wanted to be like the Most High. He wanted to to rule the world. And Lucifer would do everything he can to destroy God's creation. So those who are out there that happen to worship Lucifer, I want to remind you that if Lucifer wants to destroy the entire world, that means you too. Yeah. I look at this whole thing about, Israel merging with the United States military and our intelligence and everything. And yet, if you watch that short documentary, it's only about 15 minutes long that Harrison Smith put out there. It's called The Eighth Front. And if you haven't seen it, you need to see that. It's a compilation of news clips, interviews, etc., etc. There's no editorializing. There's no opinions being put. He just puts out this clip, that clip, this interview, that interview. You read you look at it and figure it out for yourself. But the bottom line here is that the plan by some people is to destroy the West, which in their mind is Rome. And that means Europe and the United States. And they're going to do it by any and every effort that they can, because they won't have their Messiah until that is accomplished. But I remind them that if they're going to do that, okay, maybe they'll take us down, but you know what? You'll be taken down too, because that's Lucifer's plan. So the powers that be will do anything. They're so diabolical. They are so diabolical. They will come across as your best friend. They will come across like, this is a marriage, a joining, if you will. Yeah, we'll marry the person that we want to take down. And we'll use deception and sweet words, etc., etc. Yeah, we'll marry the person that we want to destroy. And then I stop and I think, and I say, wait a second. Erica Kirk. Oh, my goodness. My. Oh, by the way, I've only got a few seconds left before the music starts. The preliminary hearings in the Charlie Kirk assassination didn't quite go the way the prosecution wanted. And I want to remind you that if you go and review the footage, the gory, grisly footage of Charlie meeting his fate, notice that the shirt jumps before the wound on the neck. Ooh. That's about all I'm going to say about that. That's a big can of worms that I just opened up. Yeah, seriously, folks, go back and look at the footage. You'll see that his T-shirt jumped up before the wound on his neck. So it could not have been a sniper shot. Oh, that just blows the whole official narrative right out of the water. Yeah. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for another week of broadcasting here at the Red State Talk Radio Network, the WTF Reports. If you're enjoying the show and listening on Rumble, BitChute, Facebook, or YouTube, please click like, share, subscribe, and spread the word by word of mouth. And do business with our advertisers. Or you can make a donation with the GoFundMe. Help me keep the lights on and build this show. That said, I want you to have a safe and cool weekend. It's hotter than heck up here, so stay safe, stay free. God bless you all, and God willing, I'll see you Monday.